Let me ask you, are you about to make one of these costly mistakes when buying your home? Today, we are diving into a topic that might be able to save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 types of homes that I think you should never buy. There's some mistakes that I've seen too many people make, including myself, before I was actually a licensed real estate agent. So today, I hope you can trust me to guide you through this process so you aren't one of these people as well. Stick around throughout this video because the last one is the biggest trap that I see in our real estate market that nobody is talking about. The first thing we're going to discuss is homes with poor renovations. There are a lot of people who are buying homes in Brampton, Mississauga, and the Toronto area, and they're looking to add value to their home, which is completely acceptable. Looking to add value to your home is a great thing. Renovations can be great, don't get me wrong here, but the problem is that sellers tend to cut a lot of corners, especially if they're going to make this a flip. Cut corners is not good because if they're cutting corners on things that you can visually see, what's behind the walls and what's under the floor that you have no idea what it looks like. So I'm going to give you an example. We walked through a Mississauga home with a client and it was absolutely stunning. The kitchen was top tier. 8 seats on the island, pot lighting throughout, new appliances, beautiful new floors. But when you're looking at a property like this, you need to think to yourself, was the extent of the renovation taken below just surface value? Although it looked like a magazine in this home, when we did the home inspection, the plumber found water under the floor, which is amazing that an inspector can use the tools at their disposal to actually see things that are beyond what we are actually able to see at face value. So they've got the sensor there. They can tell you if there's water under the floors. They could see that the plumbing was done completely incorrectly and it was not replaced with the rest of the renovation. And to top it all off, this seller did not even have the permits for the renovation. This is always a big red flag. So what I want you to watch for here is if the work isn't done properly, it's gonna cost you a ton of money on the back end. So what you wanna do is you wanna check if there was actually permits pulled on this renovation, because if there wasn't and the city finds out or you have an issue, guess what? You're gonna have to rip everything out and you are going to have to comply with building codes, which means you're gonna have to redo all the current renovations that have already taken place. So one of the big things I want you to be cautious about is the cosmetics. So if you see something that looks like might have been done, like a fresh coat of paint or some new baseboard, to maybe cover up an issue that was previously there, this should be your wow moment for you to really just think about what are they actually hiding, if anything. If permits are pulled and everything looks perfect and all the work was done as it should be done, you're ready to go and pull that trigger on firming up your contract on that property. But if it's not, that's something that you might want to take a step back and look a little bit further into. Now, a poor renovation, this can extremely impact the resale value of your home. If a renovation's been done but not been done great, maybe it's done by yourself, maybe it's done by a family friend to save a couple bucks, this is going to impact you on the resale side of things. A lot of these renovations that are done by a friend of a friend, we see things like shoddy electrical, uneven flooring, drywall that might not look too great once it's painted and the light is hitting it from a certain angle. Maybe some plumbing has been done incorrectly. Possibly even the wires are switched up on some of these electrical outlets. So having an inspector is important because you don't know who has done that renovation, especially if there's no permits that have been pulled on the work that's being done in the home. My final tip for you as a buyer is don't let the glam, don't let the shine, don't let that magazine or HGTV look encourage you to buy something until you look a little bit more in depth into the actual property itself. If you want me to be your guide when it comes to making that next move, you can click the first link in the description box down below, book a 30-minute consultation call with me. If you don't want to do that and you'd rather text me, you can shoot your message here to the number on screen and I would be happy to discuss with you what your plans are in the real estate market. I cover the GTA and the surrounding areas, so if you're in that area, I'm happy to help you. If you're out of the GTA and you're watching this video, I'm connected with agents all across Canada, including North America, so I'd be happy to refer you to an agent that I trust when it comes to your buying and selling needs. So the second thing I want to cover here, never buy this type of home. It is a home that's in a high traffic area. Now you may be thinking to yourself, I've seen a beautiful home, it's on a busy street, but I could make it work for myself. I'm going to caution you here, you may not want to make it work for yourself. And there's a lot of different reasons why. So homes in high traffic areas, especially like a Brampton or a Mississauga, they're going to come at a cost to you, the buyer. So yes, of course, you can buy a home that's close to highway. That might be convenient for you. That might be something that you're willing to have or sacrifice in terms of the noise to have that convenience of commuting. But noise pollution, quality of air, and the overall livability for most buyers is just not ideal in these high home traffic areas. So let me just expand for you a little bit more here. Let me paint this nice picture. Imagine you're just moving into your dream home, but when you wake up every morning, it's to the honking sound on the highway that's directly behind your home. You may have got a fantastic deal on this home, but now you're waking up every morning at the crack of dawn with a headache. Believe it or not, some of these studies are showing that homes near the highways can have measurable drops in air quality as well compared to quieter residential neighborhoods. So a lot of families are watching these videos here. If you've got young kids, you want to keep them away from this pollution if you can at all choose to do so. Of course, some things are out of your control. If something's built around you after the fact, that's something you can't control. But if you are knowingly buying something in a high traffic area, you got to take into consideration the pollution from the vehicles and the noise pollution as well. That's going to disrupt not only your sleep, but their sleep. And if your kids don't get sleep, trust me, I know my kids, if they don't get to sleep, they are going to be a handful the next day. And they're not going to be in a great mood. They're going to be cranky. So will you. Now, what's the impact on resale value actually look like for a home that's bought in one of these areas? So homes in high traffic areas, they struggle to appreciate in value. So you might see all your neighbors around you selling for great prices, maybe even just a couple blocks away. But when you put your home on the market and you're backing onto a highway or you're in a high congested area for vehicles, you're going to find yourself having some struggles, because not only do you not enjoy the high traffic, the noise, the pollution, guess what? The buyers who are coming in are going to have the exact same issues. So something you're gonna have to be prepared for. If you have an issue with it, likely the buyers coming in are gonna have the same issue, and they are gonna use that to negotiate a great deal on the home, to maybe sacrifice these certain things that we're talking about here in this video. What I want you to look out for when you are on your home buying journey, whether it's with me or somebody else, there's proximity to major roads. Use your Google map, take a quick drive by these places, see how close it is to the homes, to the highways, to these busy streets. You also want to go there at different times of the day. So visit this home during rush hour, visit it in the morning, visit it in the evening, check it out on the weekends. If your market allows you to kind of take your time with the purchasing process, do all of this to ensure yourself that the noise is going to be something that you can put up with. The last thing is the neighborhood vibe. Look out for the homes in these areas that maybe are a little bit more noisy. There's parties going on. Maybe there's a lot of stuff going on in the neighborhood, parties, kids, stuff happening on the streets that is going to turn you off from it. Avoid this at all costs. My final thought here is, if you can hear the traffic from the front door of the home, it's probably not the right home for you. If you're working with me, I'm likely telling you that right to your face, but prioritize the long-term aspects of your purchase. You should never buy real estate for short term. So if you're buying it for long term, think about how this may affect you in the long run. The third type of home I would never buy is the home with outdated utilities. Now, all these homes I'm mentioning, you can buy these homes. There are workarounds, there are certain things that you might be okay with. But if you buy a home with outdated utilities, like the wiring, like your plumbing, especially if you're buying something in Toronto, downtown Toronto, there are a lot of homes that are over 100 years old, and they may not have their updated electrical, their updated plumbing, which means it's a cost that's going to come to you down the road. You can't go through a house, go through your conditional period, and ask the sellers to pay for updated wiring and plumbing and this and that and a new furnace and a new AC. It's just not something you can do. But what you can do is understand what these costs are going to look like in the future, so you can budget that into your offer. So the couple things I want you to keep note of here, I've got 3 of them. Aluminum wiring. This is something that was present in the 1960s and 1970s. This is no longer up to today's code. You're not going to see aluminum wiring. Aluminum wiring overheated. It's an increased risk for fire. And if you're trying to get home insurance with aluminum wiring, it's something that is going to be an extreme headache. So if you're offering on a home with aluminum wiring, have a condition on there to get home insurance or to get a quote for home insurance, so you are not surprised when it comes to that. Second thing, galvanized piping. Homes with galvanized piping, you're looking at potential of corrosion, lower water pressure, and obviously some leaks could be happening for this type of plumbing. Last thing is your HVAC system. So not only your furnace and your air conditioning unit, they want to be replaced, give or take, every 20 years, but you're not going to see a seller replace it just for the sale of their home, because if it's working, it's working. That's not something that they need to rush and go ahead and make a new purchase, add all this money when they're leaving a home just to get it sold. They would rather take a hit on the negotiating side. So what you need to understand is these can be costly. Roughly, to replace your wiring, if it's the whole home, can cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. If you're talking plumbing, $10,000 potentially could be the cost, depending on what needs to be replaced. A new air conditioner, new furnace can easily run you $8,000 to $10,000, depending on what size your home requires. These are just certain things you need to understand. Budget them into your offer and understand what these costs look like in the future. How you can avoid all of this is making sure, once again, you can hire that home inspector to make sure your home is something you want to proceed with once you know all the nitty-gritty and the ugly details after that inspection. Now, the final advice here is it's not about what looks good on the surface. Once again, open the cupboards, look deeper into the house. The bones and the structure is what really matters. The next type of home I'm never going to buy, and if you've been watching my Brampton update videos on the illegal basement apartments, properties with illegal units. I've got plenty of videos on the channel. You can tap on one of these corners and watch that video after you finish this one here. But let's talk about these type of properties. In the GTA, particularly in Brampton, Mississauga, as well as Toronto, basement apartments are super popular. I get it. People need some assistance in paying their mortgage. Rental income is a huge draw for a lot of people because the prices of these homes and the mortgages that they're going to take on are just massive. But here's the thing. If the unit isn't legal, you could potentially be walking into a minefield in terms of the risk that you're taking on. An illegal unit itself is typically one that does not comply with the bylaws that the city has, right? So this might include something like no separate entrance, maybe not enough egress with the windows, there's no ventilation, the walls and ceiling aren't potentially fire rated, for example. These are all things that we can inquire about, and there's a lot of risks when you're buying something like this. So the insurance problems, of course, if it's not a legal basement and you're renting it out, your insurance issues are just massive. You can also get fines from the city. So my previous video, Brampton is really snapping down on wards 1, 3, 5, and 7, I believe it was. And they're just really finding people who don't have these basement apartments up to the standard that is actually required. So you want to ask your seller, do you have proof of registration? Hire an inspector to assess if maybe potentially this is a home that could be a basement apartment, or could have a basement apartment rather. And that's something that's important if you're going to pull the trigger on a home like this. And the final type of home, you should not buy a home in a congested neighborhood. This is not necessarily the same as that noisy neighborhood. Let me talk about congestion here. So Brampton, Mississauga, Toronto, you're seeing all this new development. Everything's getting squished together and all that green space is quickly disappearing. So why is this actually a problem if you're buying a home? Imagine you're coming home, it's been a long day, you're having to park 3 or 4 blocks away from your house because in Toronto you don't necessarily get a parking spot, or trying to enjoy your backyard and you're only hearing constant humming of the construction, new development. It's just going to seem like minor inconvenience when I'm talking about it here, even though I might be emphatic about it, but it might take a serious toll on your life. What if you got a pet and you need to let them out the backyard? It's just not something that makes a whole lot of sense. Visit the neighborhood during the peak hours, check for community amenities, see what parks, schools, transit options are around there. See if they're lacking things like city planning in the area, because you want some green space where you can actually utilize your home properly and not feel like you're just trapped in a concrete jungle. So my final thoughts on a neighborhood like this really are, if the planned community is done properly in a new development, you're gonna have parks, you're gonna have maybe some walking trails, and you're not gonna feel like you're just jammed in to a certain area. It's up to you to do your due diligence, of course, walk around the neighborhood, take your time, but if there's certain things you need as a family, make sure you get those in your neighborhood, because you cannot redo the actual neighborhood itself. So these are the 5 types of homes that I suggest you should never buy, especially if you're in Toronto, Mississauga, or Brampton in the GTA. Avoid these types of homes. It's going to save you a lot of money. It's going to save you a lot of stress. And more importantly, it's going to save you a lot of time. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you're ready to make your next move smarter, let's connect together. I'm here to guide you every single step of the way. You can book an appointment once again in the description box down below. The first link is my appointment link. We can chat together and see if we are the right fit to take on this home journey together. Let me know in the comment section down below, what is your biggest red flag that you've ever seen when house hunting? Let's chat. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next time.